السلام عليكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Jazakum Allah khair for being here, and Jazakallah khair Abdullah and the Mass Staten Island for putting this together. It's hard to imagine that we've been going through this for almost a year now. Literally in a couple of weeks it would be 1 year anniversary of the genocide in Gaza. And it's hard to imagine that living in the 21st century, in the century of diversity, inclusion, and equity, the diversity of equality for everybody, quote unquote, as we hear in the West, these egalitarian kind of theories and PR about human dignity and about human lives and about respecting everybody, and that love is love, and that we need to respect everybody and include everybody and diversify our societies and our communities. However, the world is witnessing a genocide being committed. It's being live streamed on TV and social media, on Twitter and Facebook, on Instagram. The murder of our children, our women, our men, our elders, our babies, live on TV. And this genocide is being not just perpetuated by Zionists, but it's being completely supported by the West, namely by the United States of America. The same country and the same empire that claims that it's about justice, that it claims that it's fighting for equality, and that claims that it's going around the world trying to bring in justice for everybody. This genocide and this war on Palestine, this war on Gaza, this war on the indigenous people of Palestine, it's not just a genocide in the sense of it being one dimension, in the sense of it being one war by a monster against just innocent people or innocent civilians that live on the land of Palestine. But this war resembles truly the battle between good and evil. This war on Gaza truly resembles the fight between colonialism and between the colonized, the people that are fighting for justice. As a matter of fact, this war resembles the oppression that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent humans and has sent Muslims to earth to liberate this earth from this oppression. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he was talking to the malaika, to the angels, and he was saying that Inni ja'alun fil ardi khalifa, that I'm creating a successor on earth, the angels responded in awe and saying, how can you send people that are known for blood shed and for corruption and for oppression? How can you make them the successors on earth? How can you make them khulafa on earth while all we do as angels is worship you and make tasbih for you? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded and he said, Inni a'lamu ma la ta'lamun, that I know that what you don't know. Clearly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us as human beings on this earth for something significant, something great. And we have witnessed for hundreds of years Muslim civilizations, Muslim ummahs, Muslim states, Muslims period of time where they were ruling the earth under the slogan of justice, under the slogan of bringing people from darkness to light. As we know the famous saying by Rabi'i ibn Amir when he went to the Persian prince and he invited him to Islam. And this Persian prince told him, what is it about Islam? He told him, أمرنا لنخرج العباد من عبادة العباد لعبادة رب العباد ومن ضيق الدنيا لوسع الإسلام. Meaning that we were sent, we as Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent us to bring in people from darkness to light, from oppression of the what's happening on earth to the justice of Islam. So from the very idea of Islam came the idea of justice, the idea of liberating humanity from oppression, As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانَ لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that He has sent many messengers before with evidence and with the truth. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابِ, singular. And He has sent a book. The book here doesn't necessarily mean the Bible and the Quran, but it means the truth, the message of Islam, the message of these divine religions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent with these prophets. And He sent with them as well the balance, so they might establish justice on earth. That is the message of Islam. And what we are witnessing today is truly a resemblance of this fight of Muslims in Gaza, awliyaullah, people that have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen to be the pioneer of that struggle, to be the vanguards of Islam. Truly the people of Gaza that are currently fighting this oppression, that are currently fighting this genocide that is supported by not just Israel, but the rest of the colonial world. The colonial world in the West that is equipped by not just unlimited amount of money, unlimited amount of bombings, unlimited amount of power, unlimited oppression they're inflicting on civilians in Gaza. We're witnessing 2-ton bombs being thrown at people living in tents. These bombs were created to destroy neighborhoods. They were sent on naked human beings, have nothing to cover and protect themselves except their clothes and their tents. This is the amount of oppression that we are witnessing. And this oppression, when I say that it resembles the fight of darkness against light and our fight as Muslims against injustice and against oppression, I'm not exaggerating. Because if we take a step back and ask ourselves, why does the United States of America, why does the rest of the Western world is unconditionally supporting Israel in the midst of this genocide? It's not because of lack of education. It's not that they don't see these massacres. It's not that they don't have images. It's not that they don't know the amount of people that died in Gaza. Trust me, they know. They might tell you that they don't know, and they might deny the facts. They might accuse people who spread truth about what's happening in Gaza of anti-Semitism to cover for their crimes. But they know what's happening in Gaza, and they have no problem with it. They have no problem with it because Gaza resembles that one light, that one last castle that is left for darkness to win. This is the last castle for justice and for light. The last castle of human dignity. The last castle of justice that is standing between the obliteration and elimination of the idea of justice at the hands of injustice and at the hands of darkness. This is truly a battle of the end of times. This is truly a battle between Muslims and injustice and an oppression. I'm not exaggerating to say that this is not just a battle between Israel and Palestine or Israel and Hamas. This is not a battle between the colonizers and the colonized. This battle is a microcosm between good and evil. This battle is a microcosm between oppression and injustice, between inequality and equality, between capitalism and the ideas of human dignity. This is not an exaggeration. Otherwise, why would the rest of the world, the Western world, why would it support Israel unconditionally, seeing all this so-called, as they call it, the loss of human lives, and the loss of life, and the human suffering, and the starvation, and the diseases? Why is the US okay with them being presented and being seen by the rest of the world as evil monsters, as ghouls, trying to kill children in their tents, and they have no problem with it? Because truly this is a battle for them as a survival. And when we take another step back and realize and ask ourselves, why do the United States support Israel unconditionally? We can follow the Ammo analysis and say, well, because AIPAC, and go into anti-Semitic tropes that the Jews controlled the government. But those conspiracy theories are meant for us to run away from the reality. These conspiracy theories are a way for us to provide simplistic approaches that doesn't truly point the fingers at the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem is that the Western world, led by American empire, is interested in imperialism, is interested in its maintaining its hegemony around the world to continue to have unlimited profit, to continue their greed for the multinational corporations to make money, to continue to have unlimited access to gas and raw material, to continue to have unlimited access to open a new market around the world. The idea now is an ideological war between the Western secular modern Cabalist mindset and worldview and a Muslim worldview that is about justice and human dignity. This is a war between profitability and human dignity. This is a war between mass production and sustainability. This is a war between making more money and people living in dignity. So the US is not supporting Israel because AIPAC spends $100 million in the United States of America. The only reason that AIPAC is allowed to spend this amount of money is because Zionists are okay with the American foreign politics. Zionists are okay with the Western ideas of imperialism. Zionists are okay to be part and parcel of this war, this global war against good and against goodness and against justice. Zionists from since day one, specifically the founder of Zionism, Theodore Herzl, when he was inviting and urging British officials in 1902, specifically messaging Chamberlain, who was the foreign minister of so-called Great Britain, he said, I'm inviting you for something colonial. Zionist leaders since day one were rooted, were understood, were understanding the 19th century ethos of Cabalism, of imperialism, of colonialism, of exploitation of the poor people around the world. They knew about the colonization of Africa. They knew what the French and the British were doing in Africa, and what we know as the scramble of Africa. And they wanted to take part. They understood that the only way for the Zionist movement, for these Jews who went through persecution in Europe for hundreds of years, for them to run away from this persecution from Europe, that they themselves have to turn themselves into colonial agents themselves. And that's why they joined forces with Western colonial powers to go to Palestine to establish the state of Israel. And the United States of America realized this and understood that Israel can serve as a client state for them in the Middle East. This $3 billion annual investment for the United States of America, for this empire that we live in, is the best investment in their life, because it maintains and it curbs and it controls the Muslim ummah in that region. They have access to gas. They have Israel that does its dirty work in the region. And most importantly, it protects these corrupt leaders that exist in the Middle East that are not just oppressing Muslims, but are stopping the message of Islam from spreading. The true message of Islam. Not the message of Islam that is about salah and siyam and that's it. This is not Islam. If the Islam was about salah and siyam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have sent the angels to earth, not humans. As the angels told him that all we do is worship you, pray for you, make tasbih for you. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that human being has something that angels don't have, which is the free will to fight for human dignity and to fight for justice. So today, when we say, why is Gaza important to us? Yes, we can invoke the Muslim relationship with Al-Quds. We can invoke our Muslim empathy with our brothers and sisters in Gaza and say it's our Muslim obligation to fear for them and to care for them and to have empathy for them, to have sympathy with them. It's easy. It's easy to say that it's a Muslim obligation for us to free the land of Palestine. You can say it's a Muslim obligation to protect Al-Aqsa Mosque because it's a holy place for us as Muslims. But in my humble opinion, what is more important than that is truly understanding that the message of Islam is the message to liberate all of humanity. That we are today facing a cruel Western world that believes in greed, believes in money, believes in profitability at all costs, believes in exploitation, believes in sweatshops, believes in buying and creating iPhones by paying Chinese kids in China $1 a day so Americans can enjoy that phone every single year. It's a world that believes it's okay to destroy Africa as long as we get its resources. It's okay to kill 40, 50, 60,000 people in Gaza to power Israel to continue its hegemony in the region. We are truly today, and Gaza resembles, and the people of Gaza, specifically the resistance of Gaza, truly resembles the ideas of jihad in Islam. The ideas that it's an obligation for us to make this world a better place. And the Western colonial powers understand that if Gaza doesn't fall, then Gaza becomes a model for us to follow. If these messages of resistance, of resilience, of rejecting Cabalism, of rejecting materialism, if these ideas and these messages are not destroyed, the rest of the world will rise up again. Because the rest of the world is busy with materialism. All of us are busy in buying the latest trend, to buy the latest car and the latest phone, to make these companies make more money. But Gaza is interested in something else. Interested in dignity, in karam al-adamiyya, the human dignity. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. That the most dignified among you are those who have the highest level of taqwa. Not those who have the latest iPhone and the latest car and go to the most prestigious universities. And this is why Gaza resembles truly an obstacle for the West. And this is why the United States of America is investing deeply into supporting Israel genocide in Gaza. Because the idea is not just to support Israel in continuing its oppression and its colonialism and occupation of the land of Palestine. Truly, yes, that's part of it. But the reality is, why is America interested in a strong Israel? Because Israel can and be able to crush the Muslim ummah in the heart, to be as a cancer in the Muslim ummah, to not allow it from rising. And rising, not from this silly idea of Muslims against Christians, absolutely not. The West is not a Christian community anymore. This is a secular, modern worldview that only believes in one thing and one thing only: money and power. To them, these traditions, these ideas, and we can see this in a lot of these social liberal issues that we fight over in the West, right? Religion is not important to them anymore. You can be Muslim as much as you want. They will come to our masajid and welcome us and be okay with everything we do, as long as we don't question the essence of modernity, as long as we don't question Cabalism, as long as we don't question materialism, as long as we don't question American foreign policies, as long as we don't question American support in Israel, to Israeli occupation of Palestine. This is what we are facing today. So when we are fighting for Gaza, we're not just fighting and fulfilling our obligation to supporting our brothers and sisters in Gaza, because we as Muslims have to feel for them and be with them and stand with them and to end the genocide. But because we truly have to believe that if Gaza falls to today, truly human dignity will fall. Truly we'll become consumerist robots to the Western and to capitalism. Because as long as we are consuming, Everybody is happy with us. But once you say that no, mass production that comes at the cost of destroying the world, at the cost of exploiting poor people, at the cost of stealing resources, at the cost of creating wars and turmoil so these resources stay cheap, at the cost of opening free markets by bringing in cultural imperialism, by making American dream become the global idea of success. As long as you change Muslim religion and all religions to believe that the salvation, it's not the salvation of the end of day. It's not to please Allah, but to have the highest material success. If you have a BMW or Mercedes, you're a successful Muslim. But if you're a poor Muslim, nobody looks at you. But as we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ, that the only thing that matters is taqwa. But this ideas in modernity and secularism and Cabalism is that the salvation to us as humans is our material success, not our character, our ethics. As the Prophet ﷺ says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمَّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ, that I was sent to complete manners, to create ethics, so we as humans can live in a society that is ethical. And these ethics and characteristics and manners that come to us come from the divine, not man-made ethics, not man-made or rational based morality that keeps changing every day. 50 years ago, homosexuality was bad. Today in America, it's celebrated. Because to them in the West, this modern secular idea is that everything everything varies. Everything is relative. Can be bad yesterday, but if it brings us money today, why not? But in Islam, according to divine ethics, if it doesn't respect human dignity, then it's not okay. If you don't respect in your work that you deal with people in dignity, if you don't cheat, as the Prophet ﷺ says, وَمَنْ غَشَّنَا فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, that if you cheat, that you're not from Muslims. We are taught that this ethics is between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this idea of having something between you and Allah is not just because you want to fear punishment, but Allah wants to teach you that when you fear Him, you will always be ethical in your treatment with other human beings. But if you're only afraid from punishment by the state, if the police is not watching you, you can do whatever the heck you want. You can hustle your way. You can exploit poor people. You can exploit your workers. You can cheat people. But Islam is against this. And this is why today Islam as an ideology of rejecting exploitation, as an Islam as an ideology that millions of people believe in this ideology, that believe that materialism is not better than human beings, that materialism is not better than ethics, it's not better than manners, it's not better than characteristics of a good Muslim or a good person. These ideas are an obstacle to mass production. How can you keep buying iPhones if you in your mind say that I'm not okay for me to buy an iPhone, that one person has to work 12, 14 hours a day for $1? That's oppression, and I'm not going to be rewarding oppression. How can you keep buying the latest laptop and the latest trends, the latest clothes that cost Bangladesh 50 cents? But you buy it for $200 every single winter or every single semester or every couple of months. You have to keep renewing your clothes. Anytime there's a problem with the electronics, you throw it away instead of fixing it. If you don't believe that you need to prevent exploitation, if you don't believe that nature has to be protected, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this to us as an amana. If you don't believe in this, then you will be okay. They will be happy with you in mass production. So again, Gaza today, the choice that they have been given in the past 17 years is a simple choice. Drop the resistance, surrender to materialism, and we'll give you all the money on earth. And Gaza was given an example of the West Bank in Palestine. In West Bank, people were given money, they were given loans, they were given access, free mobility, as if telling Gaza, you can choose. Drop your resistance, and then we'll give you anything you need, or continue to resist and we will crush you. And that's what's happening. This is truly a battle between human dignity and greed. And this is why this is important to us 1 year after, because Gaza has to be a pivotal moment for all of us. I think all of us have to understand that after this genocide, there's no going back. After the war in Gaza, there's no going back. We have to be conscious Muslims. We have to take care of nature. We have to reject mass production, mass consumerism. We have to reject greed. We have to reject evil. We have to truly live day in and day night as a conscious Muslims who truly believe not just in the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of being a better human being, but to also fight oppression and fight evil. Because truly that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was sent. The Prophet ﷺ was sent for. He was sent to liberate people from injustice. That is the reality. And I want to end by saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَيَتَّخِذُ مِنْكُمْ شُهَدَاءَ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose martyrs from amongst you. And this is very essential for us when we want to understand the idea of sacrifice, the idea of shahada. We as Muslims believe it's the highest level, not just to get in the highest level of Jannah, but it's the highest level of taqwa and iman. Once you reach a shahada, we believe that it's the highest level of reward. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this conditional. He didn't say that anybody can be a shaheed. He said, وَيَتَّخِذُ مِنْكُمْ شُهَدَاءَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses the martyrs. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in this earth is not just testing us in the sense of salah and siyam and qiyam, but He's testing us in terms of who's living by the principles of Islam. Who's living by the point of view and the world view that this world is about justice, and our idea as Muslims is to reject materialism and to bring in justice and equality around the world. Only those who believe in this and fight for it are worthy of being chosen as martyrs. Otherwise, why is it only Gaza that is today suffering like this? Why is the whole world united to destroy Gaza? Why? Because truly, as I mentioned before, the Western Cabalist world has decided that this Gaza, the struggle of Palestine, is a problem for them to continue the domination and their destruction of the human dignity, and to finally spread the ideas of materialism around the world so they can make more money, to continue their power, and to continue to dominate the world through any means necessary, by economy, by politics, by social ideas, by so-called social justice, by cultural imperialism, by Hollywood, by movies, by any of these ideas. All of these ideas are about desire, about lust, about greed. And we know in Islam, everything we do is about knowing and learning how to curb our lust. Correct or not? It's okay for us to have lust. It's okay to have desires. But Islam is all about knowing how to channel lust and desires in the right way to produce a healthy society. But the Western worldview is that lust and desire should lead you as a person. And that undermines you from a human being. That undermines your human dignity, because we as Muslims understand that your dignity is connected to how much karama you have, and how much karama you have is how much taqwa you have. And the way to reach taqwa is to control your desires. And this is why we fast, and this is why we pray. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. We fast so we might reach taqwa. We fast against drinking and eating and intimacy because we want to be in control of ourselves. And once you are in control of yourselves, you have dignity, you have karama, and you are a human being, a dignified human being. But the Cabalism and materialism is about allowing your lust and desires to control you. Because if you're hungry, you can eat anytime. If you're thirsty, you drink anytime. If you want to have intimacy, you can have it anytime. If you want to watch haram stuff, you can do it anytime. If you want to buy the latest clothes, you can buy anytime. But Islam tells you absolutely not. You can't drink anytime. You can't eat anytime. You can't have intimacy anytime. You can't buy everything you want. You can't do israf. You can't spend your money. You can't buy luxurious stuff in front of people. All of that is haram. Why? Because Islam is about controlling you to spread your to increase your dignity. And once you have spread your dignity as a human being, then everybody around you will be healthy. Because the relationship between humans becomes respectful based on ethics. Because you're not selfish anymore. It's not about you making money. It's not about you fulfilling your desires. It's about you understanding those desires don't drive you, but you are in control of them. But Cabalism and materialism is about allowing your desires to control you. Because once your desires control you, you spend all the money that you can in the world. And once you spend all the money, who makes more money out of you? The multinational corporations, the big companies, the clothing and the iPhones and the technology and the data and the social media and all of that data that we have around us. At the expense of who? At the expense of poor people that are being exploited so we can enjoy these luxuries. At the expense of Africa that is being colonized and destroyed for raw material. At the expense of people of Gaza that are fighting to truly stop that oppression and that evil mindset of materialism. So I want to end and say that truly Gaza today is our battle. And we should take this as a message and as a symbol and as a microcosm of our struggle with evil as human beings. We have to understand that if we truly allow Gaza to fail, that we are failing as Muslim ummah. And I don't mean by a Muslim ummah because we allow other brothers and sisters to die, but we allow the message of Islam to fail in comparison to the evil message of modernity, secularism, and Cabalism. That is the reality. It's a battle of ideology, and Gaza resembles the last hope for our ideology currently in the modern days that we live in today. Because if Gaza fails, everybody's gonna fall. And everybody's going to follow the so-called American dream of all you care about is mass production and mass consumerism. And then the rich will make more money and we continue to live in debt for them for the rest of our lives. And then it becomes very hard for us to fulfill our message and our mission as Muslims to be Khulafa'ullah ala al-ard, to establish justice. Will end up being another colonial subject that all we do in our life is just to buy and sell and send our kids to school and get married and buy a villa and build a home back home, and that's it. But these poor people are just dying and nothing we can do about it. But as we know, we as Muslims are responsible for that. So Gaza truly is our messages collectively on a macro level, as an ummah, as an ideology, as a message of Islam, but also in a micro level to understand if people are willing to risk their life for a message that they believe in, for their land, for their hopes, for their dignity, you can give up buying coke and putting poison in your stomach and in your body. You can give up following trends blindly. You can give up a lot of luxuries that are useless to us. And you can learn how to be a conscious Muslim in everything you do in life. From buying to selling to dealing with people, all the way to your relationship between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll stop here. I wanted to talk, hopefully we'll leave some room for questions and answers. I wanted this to be at the beginning of not just talk about Palestine from the concept of, oh, we need to liberate Palestine and fight for Palestine and the people of Palestine and our obligation, but to truly connect it on a spiritual level, on an ideological level, to truly understand that Gaza is part of us. It's really our battle. It's really our struggle. And the people of Gaza are doing it on our behalf. So the least we can do is to truly understand that struggle, to be able to relate to it, and hopefully one day be able to support it and to liberate and help the people of Palestine in their occupation and colonialism, and finally to end the wrath and the greed of imperialism and Cabalism that is destroying the world at every single moment that we're alive until, inshallah, we